Hey guys, so now that we are experts on food webs, time to start looking at particular aspects, zoom in on the food webs. And what we're going to do is start with what should probably be considered the base of the food web, the start of the food web, our producers. So remember, you've completed the Mono Lake where you could sort and organize them. You should have already completed a food web on FOSWeb for your eco scenario and be able to analyze them. So what we want to do today is we want to look at these producers themselves. So I've got a couple pictures here. One of these is a plant that's I'm in a container, kind of hard to see here. You're going to be using it in a few minutes, but it's a plant, it's a producer, and it's actually underwater. There are some plants, if you think of ponds and rivers, that do have producers that grow underwater. So you're going to be running an experiment. There's a picture of a plant. And down here at the bottom, we actually have seeds. You can see there's turnip, there's beans and tomato seeds. So if you think about just a couple of questions, like we know these things are this is definitely a plant, a producer, but these are also producers too. So like, remember, what is an organism? Like are we know this is, or I think we know this is an organism, but are these things down here, these beans, turnips, tomatoes, those seeds, are they organisms too? Like are they actually alive? So what we're going to be doing, and if we were in a real classroom, we would do this in real life with real seeds, but we want to focus on plants and seeds and what role do they play in an ecosystem. Now, you know they're producers. It says it at the top, and we've already used them in food webs. But what role do they play as a producer? Like, what do they actually do? I think I took for granted when I kind of assumed that you guys knew what they do. No, they're producers. Well, yeah, but what do they produce? So what we want to do today, we're going to quickly look at some simulations. I'm going to leave very open-ended. You're going to play around with, and we want to try to see really these questions, if we can figure out these questions by doing some virtual lab investigations, two of them actually. So what we're really going to be kind of focused on is a broad question. What's the effect of light? And then some other variables, some other things on producers. So like ultimately, really, what's the effect of light and all sorts of other environmental, non-living abiotic factors on producers? What we're going to see is that if we can figure out how they affect producers, we're going to know what producers need to produce, to survive and to produce. So to do this, what you're going to do, you're going to plan and carry out some investigations. And I'm not going to give you specific steps necessarily. I'll show you how they work here in a minute, but you're going to look at light and then some other variables. And you're going to do this in two different ways. I'm going to give you those seeds, and on a separate investigation, I'm going to give you the plants for that as well. And you're going to be able to change some variables, run some investigations, and watch what happens to the plants to do that. So we're going to study that underwater plant that we saw, and we're going to adjust the levels of light and the amounts of gases. So both of those are abiotic factors, factors in the environment. In the other investigation, we're going to plant some seeds. You're going to be able to plant all three or one of a kind, whatever you want to do. We're going to look at their soil, what's in the dirt that they're growing in. Again, abiotic factors. And we're going to adjust the amounts of light. And we'll measure their growth. So they're two pretty easy investigations. And remember, our main focus, we're focused on the producers here, both when they start out as seeds and when they're full or growing plants, really to look at it more broadly. What do they need to survive, grow, and thrive? Because without producers, think of your food webs, we can't really have an ecosystem. So producers are first in line. They're really, really important. They're the base of our food webs. So here are some questions as you're going along. I'll go back to at the end here that I'm going to want you to think about while you're playing around with these investigations, which I'll show you how they work in a second. Remember, what do they need to survive? And then really what we're trying to do, it's almost a competition if we look at number 2. Under what environmental conditions, abiotic factors, do producers grow and thrive, and do they do the best? And then under what conditions do they do the least? Do they are they not able to grow? Are they not able to thrive? This is important again, remember, because without thriving, healthy producers, our ecosystem's in trouble. And we're also going to see a couple of two other ideas, like do all producers, number 4, do they grow and thrive at the same rates? Like if we give two different kinds of plants or two different kinds of seeds the same conditions, will they grow the same way? And then the ultimate one, perhaps the trickiest one you're going to really have to pay attention to, is what do producers produce? What do they actually give back? We call them producers for a reason. All right, well, what do they produce for their environment? So to do that, we're going to be using software that I'm going to take you to here in just a moment through Gizmos. Now the link is actually is here. Oops. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to back out of this Google Slides, and I want to actually go to our um, Classroom. Now you're going to see this in when you log on to Classroom here. I've got some questions to think about. So you're going to need to first create, I'll show you how to do it really quick and easy, an account to join our class. I've set up a class, Orion Science, and now to do this, you're going to need this account, this password, this code. I'm going to show you how to do this in a second. So if I go back, G2Z8Z4. So if I go back, I'm going to click on this Gizmos link, and what I'm going to do is actually input this account, this password. This is your first time, the first place you're going to be. You're going to go and pop in this code, G2Z8Z4, and I've left you that handout on there. Now when you enroll, when you click on enroll, it's going to try to, hey, look, you can join a class by Justin Bentley. That's me. And you're going to be joining Orion Science. So you don't already have an Explore Learning account. You're going to need to create one. So I'm going to create a fake one here, like I'm a student, to show you how to do that. So in doing that really quickly, my first name, I'm going to put down, let's say I'll be, you know who I'm going to be, Ricky Bobby. And my email will be let's say rbobby at westerly.k12.ri.us. So that's me. And then you're going to have to create a user, an account name. So I'm going to do rbobby, and my password, I'm going to, oh, look, there already is a username. So we'll do rbobby2, rbobby22. Or Bobby2222. And what you're going to have to do is come up with a password. So my password is going to be Orion Science and Orion Science. So I put those in. I'm Ricky Bobby. I've created my user account. I've got all my stuff here. And when I click submit, notice it takes me to, these are the two in Orion Science I'm in. These are the two labs that you're going to be conducting. And I want to show you them really quickly. So in the first one, I'm going to start with this guy. You're going to be given that plant. Now when I click on it, it's going to show me like, hey, here you go. You can change some things here. So what you have the ability to do, we want to observe how a plant produces oxygen from water, sunlight, and carbon dioxide. So you're going to be able to vary and change some things here. Now I can expand it to full screen if I want to, but I'm able to notice I can change the light intensity. I can make the light brighter. I can turn the light all the way off. I can also give that plant a lot of CO2, which is carbon dioxide. I can give it a little bit. I can give it anywhere in between. And what you can actually do is, here's our description. If we go over to our table here, I'm going to actually record. I'm going to set this at 50% light, and I'll put it about halfway for CO2 as well. And I can actually record the data. So notice when my light is at 50%, here's my temperature I can adjust up here as well. And it's going to tell me how much oxygen I've given off. I can also, in here, my light color. I have the ability to change the color of light. I can make it be absolutely just white light if I click on that. Or notice I can change it to green light or blue light or red light or any of those things in between when we do that. All right, so we've got some things that we can change here. So I'm going to clear that data. You also have the option, if you're a picture, graph, chart nerd like me, you can look at either bar charts, or you can do this as well with graphs. You can set up the graph any way you want, and then when I record data here, I can see that, oh, there's one point that when my intensity is at 50, my oxygen is at about this looks like about 30, a little over 30 there. So you've got some different ways you can look at this. I want you to mess around and change. Run numerous trials, change the light, change the CO2, change the temperature. If you want, you can even change the color of light. Like I want to use yellow light or blue light or purple light or whatever. But I want you to run that and you can record your data and then you can go back and you can use this. You're going to use this to answer an exit ticket. So that's one of them. That's one of your lab options. The other one, this growing plants, pretty simple. You're going to be given some empty pots and you can set these up any way you want. You can drag in seeds, like I'm going to go and plant right here a tomato seed, and I'm going to plant, let's say, a bean seed in here, and I'm going to plant turnip seeds into C. You can adjust right here the amount of water that you want to give them each day, whatever you want to do, and you can turn the light on or off if you want them, however you want to do this. So what I'm going to do is just quickly, you can also add fertilizer if you want. I'm going to go ahead and put fertilizer in that one. You can put compost in one, and it keeps track of what you have here in doing that. So on this, and you can set these up any way you want. Now, when you go to run this, notice, watch, I'm going to click start here. My days are going by, and you're going to be able to see, you can pause it at any point in time, the plants are growing. Remember, it tells us what's in there. Now, the nice part is if you go to data, you can get data charts. And we can notice that, oh, in pot B, look, my plant is growing more. If we go back to our experiment, we can see, I wonder why. I put in a bean there. You can always, you have the ability to go back into reset. You can clear all the pots. You can even run, okay, well, it looks like beans grow the best. What happens if I run an experiment where I put beans in all three of them? And maybe I'm going to reduce the water in this one. This one, I'll give them the most water. So see how I've changed some variables there. Think about, well, what's going to happen? I've got light on here. I've given this one no water, that a medium amount, that one the most. Let's see what happens. So you have the ability here to run these over time. Notice our numbers are changing, and I'm going to pause it here at 25 days. You can go back and look at your data. What does it look like is happening? They're the same kinds of seeds. It tells us what's in there. So remember, what we're after when we do this is very simple. We're trying to go back and we're trying to see here, remember, ultimately, what we're trying to answer this question. What do our producers, all producers, which are mainly plants, could be algae, in an ecosystem, need to survive, grow, develop, and thrive? Now, when you're done with this simulation, obviously there's going to be an exit ticket that you'll complete 3 short questions. And that is where you're going to, I'll be able to gauge and understand, do you know, can you say with confidence, do you know now, before we keep going, what producers need to grow, survive, and reproduce? All right. So remember, you're going to create that Gizmo account really quickly. Then you're going to play around with both investigations. You can do as many trials. I'm going to ask you to do a lot of them. Change the variables. And then when you're done, hopefully you'll have an answer to this question. You're going to go back and complete the very short Google form, which is our exit ticket.